So let's take a look at area of a triangle today. And so to kind of get started, I want to introduce you to a new formula that you kind of need to put in your tool belt of mathematics. And that formula is, as we look at area of a triangle, this will be kind of where we hang out for today, is what I want you to look at is, area equals 1/2 time, and then we're going to have base times height. So, again, with our expressions, anytime those letters are stacked right beside each other, that is multiplication. So if I were to kind of take this and tease it out a little bit, just for your better understanding, it's going to be 1/2 times base times height. So the first part of this digital lesson, I want to just go ahead and just explain our base and our height and kind of exactly what are they, so you know how to identify them when you look at a triangle. One thing I definitely want to point out is that this is not the only way that you can find the area of a triangle. As you progress mathematically into deeper levels of particularly with trigonometry, you'll learn that there are different avenues to go. But for you right now, where you're at for the next several years, this is going to be your tool to finding the area of a triangle. So let's give us a triangle to kind of look at, and I help you or help me explain this. I want to start with just a real simple triangle here, and I think we got there. So here's our triangle, and I want to show you how this works more than anything. But first, let me kind of give you the two things we're looking for with this is, and this is a right triangle. So from our geometry unit, we can identify that, and we know this angle here is definitely a 90-degree angle. But what we have here, some of the moving parts here, is when we talk about the base is going to kind of refer to this length right here. And so I'm just going to use the blocks here on the grid paper as my units. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So we know this is 7 units long. And then my height it's going to be the height of the triangle. Now we're going to look at this in a couple different ways. So again, I'm starting with the right triangle. I'll kind of show you differently in just a second. But again, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So it's 7. So we have our base and height identified, and if we were to build an equation, area equals 1/2 times 7 times 7. Right? Because there is my base and my height. Okay? And let me explain the 1/2. The reason the 1/2 makes sense is to find the area of, let's say, of the square, which would be with 7 and 7, or if it were a rectangle, it would be that there would be some sides existing here. Are you following me? Can you visualize this? If this were a complete quadrilateral, then we would have those sides. But with the triangle, we're taking half of it. So the area of, in this case, the square would be 49. But when we take and we have to work this down, well, I know this is, my area would equal 1/2 times 49, or the area would be 24.5, and we say units squared. Because if I were to count these, look at the full units here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21. But then I've got these halves. You see them? I'm up to 21 kind of, I'm going to say, full blocks here. But then I've got these halves here. There's a half, there's a half. So that gives me another one. There's a half, there's a half. You see how I'm doing? I'm putting those together. There's a half. There's a half. That gives me another. And then there's 1/2 left over and a half. Now, 21, 22, 23, 24 and a half. That's how I came up with that. So again, the big concept here that we really want to hang on to is, and let's leave that here before I start erasing things, is that the area of a triangle is 1/2 times base times height. Now, it's not always going to look the same. So let's clear this up and kind of start again. Now, you know me and my OCDness. This needs to go to how's that? All right. So let's take a look at another triangle. Now, what if it looked like this? I kind of zoom in. What if my triangle goes here to here and here? All right. Now, here's my triangle. Now, this triangle is different because it doesn't have it's not a right triangle, so I don't really have the height. Now, I could measure the base, right? Count my units here. Let's zoom in so you've got a good clear picture, but I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 must be my lucky number today. So I've got those 7. But the height, I don't have a height because I can't, my height, it can't be these because that's not the actual height. When we talk about height, we are looking at a measurement that is straight up and straight down. Okay? This is what we're looking for. So when we talk about height, it has to be a vertical measurement. It cannot be a slope. Our base is horizontal, and then our height is vertical, man, which is really a great point. Let's kind of just make sure we note that. So when we see base, we're talking about a horizontal, and then our height is we're looking for a vertical, and it has to be exact. It cannot be, well, obviously, you know, this line and this line are both in some degree, they are going vertical, but it must be running straight up and straight down, and we don't satisfy with that. So with this type of triangle, you have to be given another measurement. With this type of triangle, what you're going to see is this going to, and you'll see it in a couple different ways, so I want to kind of prepare you for both. One way you might see it is with just the line over here like so, and it's going to say, well, this is 5, and let's call this inches, and we know this here is 7 inches. But another way you might see it is you might see where they'll take and they'll do a dotted line here, and then they may say, okay, that's 5 inches. And so either way, the way the delivery of the information, you may see it either way. But either way now, I don't know these lengths, and I don't care about them when it comes to area. What I know is I need the base and the height. And so now I can come in here, area equals 1/2 base times height, plug it in, 1/2 base was 7 times 5 was my height, area equals, notice I'm showing all of this work. Don't sit there and try to mentally compute this stuff. Plus, don't be afraid to use a calculator here. I mean, at this point, it's the application of the formula, not the ability to do the math that I'm looking for here. But 1/2 times 35, which would be, and then area would equal, and again, we're dealing with inches, 17.5 inches square. You know, again, the reasoning there is I'm technically making this a square. and calculating the actual area of the quadrilateral, and I'm taking half of it. In fact, see these two pieces, piece 1, piece 2, I should be able to piece those together and create this again, because I could take, these are mirrors. See this here? It's just flipped over. It's a mirror of this. And so that's what it is. That's the half, is when I cut it, and then I'm making that half, and that's kind of how that works. So again, remember as we look into this week that 1/2 times base times height. And that's how you're going to find your area. Now you are going to see some problems that I'm going to pull in, and I'll give you just a quick look at this. Well, let's get a bigger eraser, where I want you to use what we did with area of a rectangle or a square, to where I'm going to have you think a little bit. But what happens when it looks like this? What if this were our shape? And we take a shape, and this is something I really want you to get comfortable with. And I know we did a couple exercises before like this, but in the spirit of baseball season, here's home plate. What's the area of home plate? Now 1/2 times it doesn't work, but I'm able to come in here and say, well, I can see that there's actually a couple shapes there. Now with this guy, length times width gives me my area. And then with this guy, 1/2 times base times height. And then I would add the two together. So be prepared to see some different objects or some things I want to get you to think in looking at that. But again, when we come back to it, the core of this week is focusing on the area of a triangle, which is 1/2 times base times height. Look for those, just really the base and height, be able to identify it. Be careful not to let any just deceptive numbers. If you're given a triangle like such, and you're given, hey, this is 2 inches. Doesn't matter, but don't let that deceive you. It is a distractor. What you're focused on is the base and the height. So as we come into it, this is really our focus for the module, is area equals 1/2 times base times height. We have some opportunities to practice it mathematically as well as with a practice application. But that's a wrap on area of triangle. Good luck with your practice, and have fun.